Hey everyone, Austin here again with a Let's Play video. Today we're going to be playing through the futuristic racing game for Sega Saturn called Gran Chaser. Now this also came out in other regions as Cyber Speedway. I actually did a full Let's Play of the American Cyber Speedway probably close to 10 years ago now. It's been a really long time. Much worse video quality and whatnot, and I actually revisited it via the Japanese version recently, and I had completely forgotten that the Japanese version features a totally different soundtrack. I think apparently the European version does as well, but when they brought it over to the United States, they decided to use music by this group called the Bygone Dogs, and it's like this weird, groovy, southern rock influence kind of music. Whereas the original Japanese version just had what sounded to me like video game music. So Sega of America at the time liked to shoehorn in a lot of Western rock and stuff like that into their games. And, this was not the only game that went down that route, musically speaking. But yeah, I revisited this a couple weeks ago. And played through the whole thing and got through it on my first try. And I was like, man, this game, it feels a lot better with the Japanese soundtrack. Like, it's a lot of the music's actually a little more energetic. It's a little more catchy. And so I wanted to sort of replay through this game for my channel. I mean, it's been a really long time. I've got a much better video capture setup now, so everything looks much more crisp. We're still using a real Saturn with real hardware, but we're doing RGB. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and play through this. I do have, again, an old Let's Play if you want to check that out of the American version and if you want to hear it. But yeah, there are basically two different ways to play the game. You've got free run, which is just kind of like time attack. You're just trying to get your best time. And then you've got story mode. So what we're going to do is play through story mode. There are two modes in story mode. You've got standard and advanced. Each basically has you going through 5 or 6 tracks. And the advanced versions are totally different tracks with the same theme as on standard. It's whatever. There's like 10 to 12 courses in the game, and then you end and you get a credits roll. So we're gonna see if we can do that. We are going to skip most of the cutscenes. I'm going to try to just actually chop them out in software so this Let's Play goes a little bit faster. But I will show you this first one. Basically, it introduces the planet that you're going to and you're racing on. And at the end of the story section, right after that, you end up being able to configure your ship or your hovercraft or your sled. So we're going to hit this. And so we have a bunch of different choices here. We've got engine. I actually prefer to do power because I get up to speed really, really fast, and I stay at a fairly high top speed. Neutral is like a mid-range engine to a slightly higher top speed. And then speed is a little confusing. It's like, does that mean I accelerate faster, or does that mean my top speed is higher? And it actually means your top speed is higher. So it actually seems good, but it takes so long to get up to top speed. And once the AI gets ahead of you, especially on the advanced courses, it's hard to catch back up. So I just prefer to go with power and just accelerate as fast as possible. Steering, light, heavy, neutral. I'm going to leave it on neutral. That basically affects how, hard or soft you turn. Same with braking. You can brake hard, you can brake soft. I'm going to do just soft brakes because it doesn't really matter that much. I don't actually use brakes all that often. A lot of times I'll just let go of gas. And all right, so let's go ahead and select our second option here. This will throw us right into the game. And there is a functionality called boosting. It's not what what you think it would be. It's kind of like allowing you to sharp turn and stuff like that. I think like F-Zero when you hold L or R. So also you have multiple camera angles. You can press X, Y, or Z to switch. And so I just switched to the Z functionality there, and I'll move back to Y. It zooms in further. I actually prefer X's angle, which is first person. And so we're going to be racing in first person for this playthrough. A big part of that is the immersion's a lot better in first person, in my opinion. But also, what ends up happening is the frame rate improves a lot, which affects playability. You want a fast futuristic racing game to be responsive and feel good. And so if you want this game to feel the best, you want to pop it in the first-person mode. There are a couple of other driving games on the Saturn that you kind of want to play in first person. But yeah, our standard mode courses are actually pretty simplistic. And, a lot of the courses in this game are pretty simplistic. And, so I'm just holding down the B button here. And you see my top speed is around 280 kilometers per hour. So if I had selected the neutral option, it would probably be a little bit closer to 290. And then if I had selected the speed option, it would be a little over 300. So that is a decent speed difference. Also, I can use the shoulder keys to do what's called boosting. So that's a right boost right there. You can see my ship is tilting to the right. That's a left boost. It literally like shifts you over a little bit. And honestly, it's a function I don't use that often in this game because so many of the courses are like this. It's just like big circles. And so I have a tendency of not really needing to use the boost. Also, when you let go of gas and press B, it'll also use boost. It's kind of weird. But again, it's not what you would expect the term to mean. Like when you see the term boost, you would think, oh, it's gonna actually speed me up. It's a boost mechanic, but no, it's not. So it's kind of misleading. There is no F-Zero style boosting or anything like that in this game. There aren't even like ground boost pads like in Wipeout. So this game did come out in 1995. I think this was even a launch title in North America for the North American Saturn. If not, it was very close to it. And it is actually a spiritual successor to a old MS-DOS 1993 PC game called Cyber Race. That was done by a company called Cyber Dreams. And I guess one of the significant things about that game is that it had artwork by a lot of you guys will probably recognize his name, Sid Mead. He actually did some video game stuff in the 90s, like Sid Mead's Terraforming, and he lent his designs and world building to some games like that. And he did the same thing for Cyber Race, as well as this, Cyber Speedway or Gran Chaser. And Cyber Race in 1993 was kind of a weird story-driven racing game, and it used what might be like a voxel engine. Because when I watched gameplay of it, it looks a lot like another voxel-based game on the Saturn, actually, called Amok. And, the significant thing about Cyber Race for me personally, in my own upbringing, is that I could never get the damn game to run on computers. And it wasn't until I beat this game again a few weeks back that I decided to finally look up Cyber Race footage. And, yeah, it's interesting. And this is a spiritual successor to it. Actually, on the title screen, you'll notice that it says... it gives credit to Cyber Dreams and them owning the Cyber Race name and blah, blah, blah. So that was a detail I didn't really pick up on last time I played through this game ages ago. So this game doesn't actually save your viewpoint, so you have to hit X again if you want to go back into first person. But you can see, the power setting's really good. I just blitzed right past everybody off the starting line, and I feel like that's kind of what you need to do. Also, there are a lot of glaciers here. There's or stalactites, or whatever you want to call them. There's ice columns as well. When you run into that stuff, you do take damage, and if you take too much damage over the course of a race, you will end up dying, and you only have a limited amount of continues. But you do get points as you race. Apparently, you get points every time you pass a lap, and every time you complete a race as well. I think the higher the position, the more points you get. And I was reading on, I think it might have been like Sega Retro or something. They actually have like a decent article on this game explaining all the mechanics and stuff like that. So I checked that out, wanted to make, trying to make sure I didn't really miss anything. There's no cutting room floor article, unfortunately, so there's not really any info out there as to like cut content or debug modes or anything like that. But yeah, the Sega Retro article had mentioned the scoring system, and that every 3,000 points you will get an extra continue. So you do have limited continues, but you can earn more by just performing well and just playing the game. So the AI right now is actually not bad. On standard mode, the AI is really not bad at all. But advanced mode, the AI starts to become very irritating. There's a mechanic I haven't really mentioned yet, but if you press the C button, you can release missiles, and these can damage your opponents and stop them in place for a short bit. Unfortunately, the missiles have this weird like arc to them, and so it's very difficult to actually hit your opponents successfully. Those little canisters I keep picking up, those are missile canisters, or they call them bullet at the top of the screen. But it looks like I hit the 3,000 point threshold, so that should theoretically give me an extra continue if the online information is correct. So alright, that's 2 courses down. And again, I'm just skipping through the story stuff. It is, even in the American version, it is not interesting. They dubbed over the Japanese voiceovers in the American one. You know, what's actually kind of funny, in the American one, it's not subtitled. In the Japanese one, there are subtitles. But in the American version, it is, yeah, they don't do that. And we're going to stick with our same settings. Now, as you complete races, apparently the third item down here, which is special, opens up. So basically what these do is your boost mechanic, quote-unquote boost, you'll use less of your boost meter if you have it selected to that. Shield is when you take damage, you'll actually take less damage. And then weapon is, it apparently raises the blast radius of your missiles. All right, go there. There we go. So I haven't unlocked the missile option yet, but it's not really a big deal. I'll probably select that on advanced mode, because again, the AI gets really irritating on advanced mode. All right, just boost right past these guys. Not actually boost, but just, you know, just get up to speed and pass them. Now, I did want to, like, preface this playthrough with, there's not actually a ton to talk about in this game, because the courses are so unbelievably basic that I was gonna just probably talk about opinions and stuff like that a little bit more often than I usually do on my more recent playthroughs. I tried to veer away from, like, opinion-focused content a long time ago. I just want to show people what the games are like. They can decide with their eyeballs and their ears if it's something they would want to try. I don't feel the opinion approach to games is all that useful these days. You know, we're all discerning human beings with brains that function, I'd like to assume. And, oh, there goes one of my opponents, passing me already. And, yeah, so I just, you know, want to show off the games, and you guys can determine if it's something you want to try, or, you know, or not. Or you can just kick back and relax and just enjoy the playthrough itself. But I did want to talk about a couple of things on the game. You'll notice that there is a ton of pop-in. This was a problem with a lot of, especially early Saturn games. And like some of the later games on Saturn, like Scorcher, for instance, they were able to mask pop-in by, you know, kind of fading out on the horizon. And or the vanishing point, or whatever you want to call it. But these early games, it's just, you know, you just see clear sky and then pop in, pop in, pop in. But this game, it's even worse than something like Daytona USA, which is notorious for it, because it's also really glitchy at the same time. You'll notice textures just totally warping, or like layering or flickering and stuff like that. It's really kind of like obnoxious. And I just wanted to point out some stuff like that. Obviously, it's not good. I let that stuff slide as long as the game plays well. And I'm of the mindset that this game, it plays alright. There are some sections later on in the game where the track it definitely gets busier. And as it gets busier and the geometry gets a little more complex, the frame rate lowers and slows down, and your controls become less responsive. So that is a legitimate problem, but it is something you get used to when you're playing this game. I like the overall speed of the game. It's got a pretty good sense of speed. I was looking at some old school reviews of this game, and apparently they were complaining that this hovercraft doesn't control like a real hovercraft. And I'm like, who cares? Like, it's... Would you want it to replicate real hovercrafts that we know? No, this is more like F-Zero. You know, it's fast and it's fun and it's fluid, and so I enjoy it for that. Its speedy nature. You know, you really feel like you're gliding, and the sense of speed is pretty good. So those green ships, they're basically just drones, kind of like an F-Zero. And, you know, the original F-Zero has drones that'll just constantly appear as you're racing. And this basically has the same kinds of enemies, or drones. Yeah, those green ones, they just kind of appear every minute or two or whatever as you're racing. And then, yeah. Alright, round 4. Yeah, you'll notice that the game actually doesn't take that long to load either. That actually kind of surprised me when I went back to it recently. Is that, you know, when you go from these story sections and you go into your race, it's actually, yeah, it actually loads pretty quickly. So it's going to fade out, and then now loading, and it's just going to, boom, go right into it. Alright, hit X, go back to first person, and then we hold boost, or hold B, try to get ahead of these guys. And there we go, let's hope for the best. So I actually don't know what the requirements are for, you know, completing the game successfully. The last time I played through this, I did get second place once, and it let me continue forward. And then I managed to get first on all the other courses, and it still let me get the end credits. It looks like I had got the, I guess, the ending? I don't know if there are multiple endings. If any of you guys out there are much more familiar with this game, which I assume is probably very few of you. This is one of those games that nobody ever talks about. Even Saturn fans don't talk about this game. But if you happen to know, please post a comment down below, and I'll try to pin it up top, so people know. On the advanced courses, courses have a tendency of having shortcuts, which is pretty cool. The first set of courses, though, for standard mode, do not have any shortcuts, as far as I'm aware. I was looking for them last time I played through this, and I couldn't find a single shortcut. Now, there are splits, like you saw in this one. Like, there's this right ramp that's coming up, and that's good if you want to get missiles. But I don't even know if that's the faster route. I don't think it is, because that's... Yeah, I don't think it's actually the faster route. This course is very thin, by the way, and it's got a bunch of, like, little teensy tiny turns, and it's very easy to just bump into the sides. And every time that happens, you end up slowing down. So this is definitely a course where you probably want to start using your boost. Quote-unquote boost. I hate that it's called boost. Really cool, like, weird flying, like, dragon sort of thing up top. That's really cool. I do like, as the game progresses, I start really enjoying some of the visuals and, like, the more fantastical nature of the game. That's probably like the Sid Mead's, you know, concepts in action, which is pretty cool. I was originally, when I was planning on doing this Let's Play, I was thinking I'm just going to chop all this stuff, all the story sequences in software, but I might not do that because it's just, it's not actually eating up that much time. But yeah, this is a pretty cool area. It's fire-based. And it does a lot of, like, texture layering. Well, not really texture layering, but you'll have, like, these graded bridges so you can see underneath them. They lead to more fire and stuff like that. And same with the ceilings. And so some of the architecture in this game is actually pretty cool, in my opinion. Oops. Yeah, some of these courses get really tight, too. It's very difficult to actually stay off the walls. And we have hazards as well. We've got those falling fire rocks. And you don't want to fall into the middle because it is actually all fiery down below. And it does actually damage your ship. Yeah, you can see the ceiling there. You can see through it. It's pretty cool. For 1995 on a console, it's pretty cool. I feel like this game could have been much better fleshed out. Probably much better polished. If it had come out... Oops. Oh. Stuck on the fire. That's not good. If it had come out like a year later... and it had more work put into it, it had more content, and the visuals were polished up. I think it could have been a pretty well-received Saturn game through and through. Back in the day, though, reviews were, you know, I think its best rating in a magazine was like 3 out of 5 stars, but I think most other publications actually rated it much lower. Oh no, I did it again. It's fine.
Lap 4.
Myself, personally, I don't know what, like, sort of numerical rating I would give it. I don't really care about that stuff all that much. What I would say is, I look at this as, like, kind of a fun rainy day sort of game. It's the one where, like, if you're cooped up, it's all drizzly and foggy outside, and you just don't want to go out. And, you know, you fire it up, you play it for a couple hours, you get through it, and you enjoyed it. You're like, oh, that was fun. I probably won't play it again for another 5 years, but it was fun. And that's the kind of game that this is, in my opinion. It's not particularly challenging. I mean, like I said, the advanced mode does get a little more frustrating. The AI they start pummeling you with missiles left and right. The AI will also start, like, wobbling back and forth on the track, and it's very irritating. I keep falling down in the middle, but my power also regenerates after each lap, I guess. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. It's one of those kinds of games. It's a rainy day kind of game. I think it's worth playing through at least once, and maybe even experimenting with the free run mode, because on free run, you can actually play as the computer opponents, whereas in story mode, you have this default sled, and the other opponents actually have different properties. And it actually looks like that was story mode for standard mode. So we'll do advanced mode now. You don't get anything for completing the story on standard. There's no credits roll or anything. So, all right, on to the second half of the game. So we basically end up going through the same courses again, or the same planets, I should say, and we do different tracks on each planet now. So we're back to Terra. And this is where shortcuts actually start appearing, and the shortcuts are pretty much mandatory if you want to try to get first place. So let's just skip through all that. But yeah, like I said, definitely a rainy day kind of game, and you know, for that I think it's it's pretty fun. You'll eventually forget about it, you know. But actually, let me go back to neutral on the steering here. And there we go. Yeah. And the story, even in the American version, is nothing to write home about. So if you do play this game, I highly recommend playing the Japanese version. I can't vouch for the European version, the PAL version, because I don't know if it runs at a lower refresh rate. You know, a lot of PAL games would run at 50 hertz, which will end up being slower than their 60 hertz counterparts, and thus not as enjoyable. They're usually a little more sluggish. But apparently that version still has the Japanese soundtrack. So if any of you European or UK viewers out there have played that version, let me know how it feels, how it runs, and stuff like that. But if you are on a NTSC console like I am, it's probably best playing the Japanese version. You get the original Japanese music, which, again, like I said, I feel like it fits way better than the American soundtrack, which is kind of like hillbilly rock. It's just, it's weird. So, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the PAL version if you have actually played it or you have access to it, and how it compares to, say, what you're seeing here. Now, PAL games, you know, NTS games brought over to PAL regions, they could be optimized, but the problem was a lot of games weren't optimized for the 50 hertz difference, and they either end up running too fast or they end up running way too slow. Usually it's they end up running way too slow. If you take 60 hertz and then you just bring it over as is and have it run at 50 hertz, it runs about 15% slower. But the opposite could be true as well. A lot of PAL games designed for the 50 hertz standard, would be brought over to Japan or United States without being optimized, and so they end up running 15% faster, which is how you end up with stuff like Shadow of the Beast on the Sega Genesis in North America. Yeah, I'm very curious about how the PAL version of this game runs. Yeah, as you can see, I've actually been going through this side waterfall here. It's actually not a waterfall, but this side part right here. This is actually the shortcut. And if you don't know that, it actually looks like the normal route. Other shortcuts are a little more hidden, especially on track 2. The shortcut on track 2 just kind of like comes and goes so quickly that it's very easy to miss it. But even without having like the 300 kilometers per hour top speed, we still did manage to maintain first place all the way through, which was pretty cool. Probably because of the shortcut. The AI tends to not take the shortcuts. Yeah. So that's where the shortcuts become very, very important. Now, I don't think all of the advanced tracks have shortcuts. I think there's 1 or 2 tracks that I just wasn't able to find one. But tracks 1 and 2 definitely have shortcuts, and then the final track also has a shortcut. Let me go back to first person. Yeah, as the AI gets ahead of us, you'll start noticing that they'll just be wobbling back and forth like crazy, and it makes it very hard to pass them. And that's where the AI just starts to become very irritating and very troublesome to deal with. Our shortcut should be up here in just a moment. Yep, right here to the left. There we go. Very sluggish right there. And then we can boost over this way. Very nice. Still in first. Lap 2. Yeah, I really like the idea of shortcuts. I also like how the geometry is getting a little more interesting. Like you have those like sort of overpass light sort of fixtures. Tracks are getting a little more intricate. So like, man, if they had just put a little more time into this game and added more content, and you know, polished up some of the performance issues, it could have been probably a higher end driving game for the system. Still, again, like I said earlier, it's still, I think, a good little rainy day kind of game. It is perfectly playable. As you can see, I'm not like just bumping into the walls left and right. At least on the courses that are wide enough. But the briskness of the movement, the ship speed, feels really good, in my opinion. I've always been a huge fan of the F-Zero series. It's my favorite futuristic racing series, with Wipeout right behind that. Although Wipeout feels very different from F-Zero. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's really bad. It's okay, this is just a drone. He doesn't really count for position.
Final lap.
Final lap. And this definitely feels most like F-Zero to me, where you don't really feel like you're touching the ground. You're just gliding across, and it's very brisk, and it feels pretty good. Alright, last shortcut. Got it. Also, Scorcher in the Sega Saturn feels a little bit like this too if you play that game in first-person mode. Scorcher is definitely a very different beast when it comes to futuristic racing. It's more like futuristic driving meets Marble Madness, which means it has a much steeper learning curve than something like this, or F-Zero, or even Wipeout. But you do have a similar feel once you're in first-person mode, and you feel like you're kind of like just gliding around the tracks when you know what you're doing in that game. You know, I'm wondering if the subtitles are only for characters that don't have voiceovers. I'm not sure. But this guy doesn't have a voiceover. I'm pretty sure he's got a voiceover in the American one. I don't know. I fired up the American one the other night just to play a course to show people on stream that, you know, I wanted them to hear the Western rock music, and to show them like what a difference in vibe it makes for this game. But I had also noticed there were no subtitles for the story sequences, so yeah, this is one of those courses where I don't think it has a shortcut. So it's probably going to be harder to actually win this one. We're just going to have to try to take these corners as sharp as possible, I suppose. Yep, red ship slammed into me from behind. And there he goes.
Lap 2.
Look at him just wobbling back and forth. He can't stay straight. Now it does look like if you go onto the dirt, it actually slows you down, which is interesting. So that will play into your track times. Trying to stay on the asphalt. So stay on this asphalt, and I messed it up. We're going to slow down, and then try to take this right side. Get some missiles in the process.
Lap 4.
Yeah, so this is where the game starts becoming a little more challenging. And it also becomes a little bit harder to control, like, with the speed of everything and just the complexity of all the assets, the frame rate lowers and my controls become much more sluggish as a result.
Final lap.
So this is fine, as long as I get at least second place. That's kind of what I want. There is no catching up to the red guy at this point. He's just so far ahead of me. You'll notice that there is a mini-map on the bottom left. And I can't even see him on the mini-map. I do wish I could shoot behind, because that guy is just right on my tail. Alright, that's fine. Second place should be good enough. Alright, round 4. I'm gonna stick with the same setup, but actually, let me, let's see if I have unlocked any other options for weapon. I would like the weapon option if possible. Nope, they don't give it to me. Alright, well let's do shield, because I know there's going to be a lot of attacks here. I'm going to leave it at power. And let's hope for the best. Get to see some more flying and electric dragons, or whatever they call them. I do also like the kind of the lightning effect in the sky on this level. It just tends to blend with the horizon pretty well, and it makes for a pretty cool effect. You can see how farther in the distance the textures are lighter in shading, and when the sky flashes, it kind of like blends with that pretty well. Simple effect, but it's effective. Uh-oh.
Lap 2.
Alright, lap 2. Yeah, and again, no real shortcuts on this one as far as I'm aware. So we're just gonna try to play this one straight. Yeah, and I really wanted to be able to select the weapon power option because my explosion would theoretically be larger. If you go on the right-hand side here, we have some missile replenishments.
Lap 3.
Ooh, got him. Lucky. It would be fun if you had different like weapon types instead of just this one janky missile. The problem with the missile is that it's got that arc, and you have to be at just the right distance behind your opponent to really hit them, or unless you're like right behind them on a hill or something, which is rare. So like, it's nice being able to get missiles, but the effectiveness of them is very, very limited.
Lap 4.
Alright, we're still ahead for now, which is good. Lap 1 had me a little worried. Well, we are staying off the walls, though, for the most part, which is pretty key. Every time you slam into a wall, you lose a lot of momentum. And you've got to really keep that momentum up if you want this AI to stay behind you.
Warning.
Whenever you hear them say warning, that means enemies have missiles coming my way. Now, unfortunately, grabbing the other missiles is kind of shisty. And it's interesting, the missiles hitting me isn't actually stopping me. How many missiles do they have? Do they have infinite missiles? It's just, they're constantly shooting. Ran into a drone. Alright, last stretch. And again, as long as I get second, I should be okay. Hopefully. I think the last time I ran through this, I only got second once. So we'll see if it actually pushes me forward. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about being punished for it, so I guess we're moving forward. Alright, so second to last track. I think the fire track was actually our final course on standard mode, but on advanced mode, I'm pretty sure there's a sixth track. It's probably the meanest course in the game. Nope, still can't do my weapon, so I guess we'll stick with shield. Just try to zoom past everybody. Picking boost probably would have been the better choice here because there's a lot of tight corners, and so boosting around them, using my steering assists around them is pretty handy. Lots of fire in the sides. I guess we don't want to touch that. But I like how the fire texture looks in here. It looks pretty cool. The lava texture.
Lap 2.
Yeah, the Saturn, the way it did 3D graphics, very different from other architectures at the time, but it always made for a very interesting look compared to like the PlayStation or N64 or even like 3DO. All those platforms just had very distinct 3D visuals, and the Saturn's no exception. It's like the Saturn's definitely not anywhere near as good at 3D as the PlayStation or N64 platforms like that, but you can still get some really cool looking visuals with it. It's one of the things I've always loved about the console. It's like I love the Saturn right from the beginning. Like the second I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks so cool. It ended up being my first next-gen console from that era. You know, I eventually had all three. And then I had the underdogs as well, like I got the Jaguar and I got the 3DO and 32X. But yeah, the Saturn always had like this kind of otherworldly look to its 3D visuals. And I've always enjoyed that. Using my shoulder boosting as I watch textures in the distance sort of clip and then reappear. They disappear, then reappear.
Final lap.
Yeah, I do wonder what causes that graphical glitching. Yeah, and that's one of the things about this game is like, you know, it definitely could have used an extra coat of polish. Because with driving games in particular, you want them to feel solid. Not just from a control standpoint, but you want like the graphics to work normally, how they're supposed to. Once they start clipping in and out consistently and constantly, it kind of takes you out of the experience a little bit. And I think that's what a lot of people's issues with Daytona were back in the day. Sega Rally still has a lot of pop in, but it's solid. It doesn't feel like stuff is just happening in a completely unrealistic manner, like a sign is clipping through a rock or something like that. So like actually the other night when I played through this, I went and played Scorcher right afterwards, and it is incredibly solid for most of the game compared to this. And I was like, wow, this is what an engine that's actually working correctly feels like. It makes the experience feel so much better. So, alright guys, this is our last course. We do have some mines on the track on this one that will damage you pretty heavily. But there is a critical shortcut that you pretty much have to take. We'll just go with those settings. I'll go ahead and use the shield settings since there is, again, ground objects that can really hurt us pretty badly here. Back to first person. We're going to have some sharp turns as well. So boosting is pretty handy on this track. Yep, got mines right there and right there. And some more. Okay, boost this way. And then right here. Now, thankfully, those mines, they don't respawn. So as I get blown up, I make subsequent laps a little bit easier. But you can see how that shortcut is pretty critical. I was in second or third, and now I'm back in first. Not for long. The other guy's going to catch up with me. But as long as that shortcut works every time, then I should be good for first place. Alright, get a shortcut right here. We're slowing me down like crazy. Stupid mines. And I'm too far behind for my missiles to be effective against that guy. Yeah, it's not catching up with him. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I got screwed completely. Look at that. We're going to end up having to do this course over again. His missile hit me and then stopped me, and I wasn't able to reach the other side of the gap. That's messed up. That's big time messed up. There's probably no way to restart.
Lap 4.
Yeah, and there's no way I'm going to be able to catch up either. It's just not possible. Yeah, and those mines are pretty tough to deal with in that section.
Final lap.
Now, I don't want to select the retire option and have it just cancel the entire advanced mode. So I'm gonna try to just finish the course and you know, have it give me a game over theoretically, and then let me continue. It would be hilarious though that because I did so well on other courses that it's just gonna let me win and give me the credits. That would be awesome. Probably not happening though. Oh, that was close. Okay. Alright, so in the future I have to make sure I'm not hitting that wall at all. Alright, 4th place. It's different music, so it's probably not the good kind of music. Alright, what's it gonna do?
Oi.
Okay, yeah, we have 6 continues.
Yeah.
Jeez, I hope it doesn't take us that many tries. Alright, let's try this again.
See?
Alright, let's see. Do we want to change our settings? Let's go with neutral. Raise our top speed. Steering, I think I'm going to leave as is. Brake, don't really care about that. And weapon. Let's go with boost. Alright, let's see what happens. Yeah, I am boosting a lot by this point in the game, so having the boost upgrade probably helps. Plus, we're at a higher top speed now. You'll notice it says 296, as opposed to, I guess it was around 280 before, 285. So we're going a little bit faster. And I noticed when I hit those mines, I was able to boost off of them. I guess I could recover a little bit faster. So that's good to know. Grab these missiles. Oh, only got one. Okay, that was close. Yeah, the AI is getting a little annoying by this point. Because if I don't make that gap, then I basically lose.
Lap 3.
It makes me really wish there was like a reset option. Like, not just reset the whole course, but like some driving games will have a reset command you can run, which will take your car, just kind of put it back like where it's supposed to be on the course. But this game doesn't have anything like that, and again, I don't trust the retire option. That's probably something I should have tested, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I could just jump into this game and I'll be fine.
lap 4.
Still first place, just barely. I almost kind of can't believe I'm doing another Let's Play of this game so many years later. Thought it was one of those games that I'd just probably never play again. But then I just fired it up on stream the other night, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. Kind of glad I fired it up again. I got the shortcut, just barely, because that guy shot a missile at me, and he was right behind me at the same time. Alright, last lap. One of the nice things about the visuals in this game is that, you know, the courses, they do all look pretty different. They're using different, like, texture tones and stuff like that. It's easy to tell them apart. This one has a lot of, like, purples and grays. Uh-oh, that's not good. That's not good. Bumping into that wall. Alright, last stretch. Alright, we got it. Very nice. After screwing up on our first attempt, that kind of worried me a little bit. Well, there you have it, guys. That is Gran Chaser, Japanese version of Cyber Speedway. Yep, there we go. Congratulations! You gain a position of Cyber Race Champion. Okay, definitely some English for sure. It says Cyber Race Champion, right? Interesting. So it's like, it even ties it to the old Cyber Race in the credits. That's pretty cool. So, but yeah, that is Gran Chaser, aka Cyber Speedway for the Sega Saturn. I hope you guys enjoyed watching your way through that game. I enjoyed going back to it and playing through it again. Don't think I'll do it again anytime soon. But like I said, throughout the playthrough, it's definitely a good little rainy day kind of game. If you're a big Sega Saturn fan and you want to give it a try, if it looked interesting to you, I definitely recommend it. You could definitely do worse with your time. If you're a physical game collector, Japanese version's not very expensive still. Gran Chaser, and that's ideally the version that you'd probably want because of the, to me, much improved music. I'd imagine the American version's still not expensive either because it's not a very desirable title. But of course, there's other options. You can do what I'm doing and play it on something like the Satiator or the Saru or whatnot. And yeah, I think it's worth playing. It's worth going through at least once, and experimenting with free run mode is probably a good idea because again, you get to pick the computer opponents, which have different stats. So that will, make the game a little more interesting. But yeah, guys, that's basically going to do it for me. I don't really have much else to say about this game. Kind of fun early Sega Saturn driving game, and yeah, kind of glad I went back to it again. It was fun for a few nights. So, but yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm trying to be back with more videos on a more regular basis. This last year has been pretty rocky in many ways. But trying to kind of get back up on my feet in the YouTube wise, I should say, and give you guys some more content. So, but yeah, I'm going to try to be back with a NES Let's Play, and I think I should have a Q&A video ready to go as well by the time this one goes live. So watch out for that. Some good topics on that one if you need a podcast style video to just kind of sit back and relax to, or listen to while you're doing stuff around the home or driving to work or whatever. So yeah, look out for that. And yeah, I'll have some more live streams on the way soon as well. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. So until the next one, take it easy.